There it is. We're back, ladies, gentlemen, everybody, ladies and gentlethems. We are here for another awesome show. We're going to learn so much today from a very, very cool guest teaching us how to break free and live authentically. Tune in. We're going to have fun.
Practicing Polyamory, real-life perspectives from the imperfect people of polyamory. The mission of the Practicing Polyamory podcast is to provide a platform for all of the real-life, flawed humans that practice polyamory so that we might all learn from one another and grow as a community. Enjoy the show.
All right, everybody. We are back. Welcome to this beautiful Tuesday. Before we jump in and chat with today's awesome guest, I want to remind everybody that we are doing three shows every single week, which means a lot of opportunity for all of you to ask questions. Can't wait to find the guest for this one that's pending. If you have questions about your relationships or if there's a topic that you'd like to hear discussed on the show, slide into my DMs. Let me know. Leave a comment while we are recording live. Follow the show on all social media platforms at Practicing Polya. Let me know what it is that you want us to talk about. And as always, a reminder, if you're listening to the podcast, you are a welcome guest to be on the show. We're here to share our imperfect stories. We as many imperfect stories as possible, because I know that the more stories we hear, the more others will see us and themselves. The more representation we have, the more we can strengthen our community. So go to practicingpolyamory.com, sign up to share your imperfect story too. All right, here we go. We have an awesome guest today. Our guest has been on quite the transformational journey. She is a Bible school graduate turned Playboy enthusiast who stumbled into her own path of self-love, acceptance, and joy while breaking free from her religious and societal programming. Now she wants to help you do the same. Having always been that friend who could mediate for others and sometimes even playing that role for her parents, our guest has been fascinated with people and relationships as long as she can remember. That fascination inspired her to question whether sex-positive, non-monogamous, kinky, and all those other types of people she heard about on Playboy Radio could truly be happy. Was happiness even possible for those sinners? What she discovered while wondering about those people was that they were her people. And now she's on a mission to help others break free of those boxes just like she did. Tune in to find out how our guest guides those who are transitioning from the regular monogamous world to the magnificent, magical world of ethical non-monogamy. Joining us today out of Hanover, Ontario, welcome to the show, Karine Bedard. Woo! Karine, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You're so welcome. Thank you for the great intro. You've got a lot of those points down.
You know, a little bit of Google searching goes a long way.
You did your homework.
You do a good job of marketing yourself. So
Great.
that's all you. I just kind of pick and choose and, put it together. Anywho, Karine, I gave you an intro, but that doesn't mean that the world actually knows who you are. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me about what you're doing. And thank you again, Robbie, for tuning in.
So I am I'm the world's leading empowerment and sex positive relationship coach.
I like it.
I mean, right? I think that I feel like there's a real need for that, because there's a lot of coaches out there, but there's not a lot of people that really deal with sex positivity in kind of all across the spectrum, from like swinging to polyamory. And so really it's the umbrella of ethical non-monogamy that I really want to normalize, because I just don't think people should be losing their kids in custody battles or losing their jobs for their romantic choices. Some of us are built to love more than others, and it's not such a taxing energy pull from our lives to love more than one person, and we shouldn't get penalized for wanting to express that. And so and so my big mission is to normalize ethical non-monogamy, but also to present just the beauty of this world. And I think that a lot of times people associate non-monogamy with sex, and it can include that, and that is a wonderful part of it as well. But really, I want to bring about this connection side of things. And if you're going to enter this sort of magical world of connecting with others and really allowing yourself to be vulnerable and seeing vulnerability as a superpower and just really feeling empowered in your circles and community, I think you really need to be able to break free from the programming. So we have this religious and societal programming that is inherent in all of us, and it really lies in our subconscious into how we're able to be our true selves, right? Like it just keeps us stuck. And so, yeah, I'm really passionate about it.
Try to make the world a better place.
That's what we all want to do. And thank you for doing the work that you're doing to help make the world a better place and, normalize non-monogamy in all its different forms. I want to ask you more about this journey that you were on. I mean, it is a transformational one. It's one that a lot of us have experienced, also myself growing up in the church and, knowing that Bible backwards to forwards, read it a couple of times, even like on deployments and things. So tell me a little bit about your journey and that process of breaking free. You were trying to find out if the rest of us were happy?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's so crazy because I grew up very fundamentalist Christian. I mean, Brethren assemblies here in Canada, I wore head coverings, and I was a church pianist since I was 13. I went to Bible school and got my degree in church music and education. And so I've been a music teacher for years. But it just came to a head when my ex-husband really got curious about. He just had some questions that just needed answering before he could really move forward with his faith. I never had those questions. I never had those doubts. You know what I mean? I just trusted and I enjoyed my life, and it was fine. I had no trouble with it. So his search led down a path of just, it kind of all fell apart, and it was really, really sad. And I don't want to get into that because that's just a lot to unpack. But the fact was, he was willing to question things, his own faith, as well as much as he would question anybody else's faith, because we have no trouble questioning other people's faith. We're taught to judge their faith and all that, but we're not ever taught to look at our own and think that maybe there might be holes, maybe there's discrepancies or things like that, because the whole Bible is true, right? Every bit of it. So you either believe that or you don't, right? And so for me, I believed every word of it, and so that meant everything in the Bible was true. And so when he shared with me sort of his findings, I was just like devastated, because that was my whole world. It was everything.
So you were so deep into the religious program, you were so deep into the church, that when he told you that he was questioning all these things, it like actually shattered your faith and started having you question your identity. Am I getting that right?
A little bit, yeah. I wouldn't say it shattered my, well, I guess it did shatter my faith. I respected him so much, and like I looked up to him. He was a Bible school graduate, I was too, and for him to like come to this conclusion that he didn't believe like he did before, I was like, what? Like, what does this mean?
Who am I now?
And he said, you can continue to be who you are and believe what you believe. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not gonna, force. And I was like, yeah, but like, you're the person I always respected and looked up to. And like, what, I have to investigate this, because we have 3 kids, and
wow,
they're gonna, I have girls, they're gonna be teenage girls. What are we gonna teach them about sex if we don't believe the same thing? I mean, really, this was one of the first thoughts that came to me. What are we gonna teach them about sex? Because we were both virgins when we got married.
Right.
I mean, this was a big deal, right? Like sex is a big deal, right? So all that to show, okay, so we had Sirius Radio at the time, and at that time, Playboy station was playing on Sirius Radio.
Okay.
So I just started listening to the worst of the worst. I mean, these people were the worst, right? I mean, they had no love in their hearts. They had no joy. They had no self-worth.
Because they didn't have God and Jesus and all
right,
that. How could they
like,
possibly?
And they didn't respect their bodies.
Yeah, the other thing that I was thinking of when you were talking about yourself and your husband, is that verse about being equally yoked.
Oh,
Right?
that was
Like,
huge. Like, I was like, all of this, because I picked the right guy, right? Like, I picked the right guy. I didn't pick the guy.
I get what you
I
mean.
didn't pick the bad boy that I usually was attracted to. I didn't pick all the things that I thought I would really like energetically. I picked the choice that was the right choice for good Christian guy, someone who didn't lust after other people, whatever. And I found out very quickly that lust doesn't just turn on overnight, like you might, whatever. So
that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
Exactly.
So yeah, I was like, okay. So I started listening to these people talking, and I was like, sex workers and all this stuff, and I was like, these people are so intelligent. They're having the most intelligent conversations, ones that I cannot have with people at church because it was so shallow and superficial.
Yes.
Well, not even sex.
I mean, you can't talk about any of your sins.
No, and let's forget sex for a minute. Like, just the depth of conversation and the depth of being real and authentic. That is the key right there. Is I found an authenticity in these people that I had never seen before. And that's what got me. And I was like, these are my people. I love these people. I relate to these people. These people tell their truths without fear of judgment, without fear. They don't have to put it in a box. I was so blown away by that because they seemed like so empowered and comfortable with who they were, comfortable in their own skin. And I was like, this is not what I've been taught. This shouldn't be, this shouldn't be. And then furthermore, I came across the show Swing with Michael and Holly. And they had the best relationship, and they were like encouraging each other to explore their sexuality. She was bi, she had been Mormon, and they were like having relationships with, like, sexual relationships with other people outside of their marriage, and like being excited about talking about it and being happy for each other. I was like, what?
I wasn't aware that was something a person could do.
We're on the same brainwaves. I love it.
This is awesome. You've got all the right clips. And I love that one, by the way, because I love musical theater. And I've seen so many competitions where they've sung that song. So that's great. So it's such a good song.
Love that song.
So anyways, yeah, it just, all these things came. And so I started listening to podcasts and going, well, what is this swinging thing, or whatever. Fast forward. Like, we started listening to podcasts. I said to my husband, I was like, you have to listen to this. This is insane. This is crazy. Like, because you have to understand, we were virgins when we got married. We had only known each other. I mean, there was like, no, you don't even cross that. You don't think that, and
if I lust after another woman, then gouge out my eyes, right?
Yeah, but I was never that girl. I was the girl who, like, when there was a movie and the girl had to choose between the two guys that she was in love with, I would cry. Because I was like, why does she have to choose? It doesn't make sense. It's not fair. Why does she have to choose?
Wait,
that was me.
You were feeling that way watching those love triangle movies, even though everything in your religious upbringing told you one man, one woman, this is how it is.
Yeah, I never felt fair. I was like, why? Why does she have to choose? And of course, I didn't know about polyamory or anything like that, but I'm obviously wired for that. Like, obviously, like, that's just so natural to me, Anyway, so fast forward, we ended up discovering that world. And like, when we went to our first event, our swinger event, I was like, the mothership has landed. I found my people. I was like, nobody talks about this.
Great.
Like, it was like the best church I'd ever been to. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh.
Got your victory dance? Well, I got it right here. Yeah.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good. So you have this mind-blowing, experience, I guess, of just being in a swingers club at all.
This was like a camping. Was it a club? No, it was like a a
event.
little resort. Like we have this resort here in Ontario up north called Sandy Bottoms, and it's the cutest little place. It's a Bible camp turned swinger resort.
Ah, no way. That is fantastic.
It totally is.
The irony.
I was like, this looks like a Bible camp. They're like, it totally was. I'm like, that's perfect. So anyways, like there's the beach and everything. And I mean, so on our 15th wedding anniversary, when all of this started to come down, right? Like all the religion stuff came up to unravel. We went to Jamaica, and we went to a resort that had a nude island, because we were like, we have to just experience like this being nude in the sun, like just because we have a pool in the backyard and it's not really that easy to do. But we'd been able to experience that a couple times. We're like, this is just so freeing and so nice. I would love to be in that environment. And what I discovered there is that you can have the best conversations. Like if you can have a conversation with someone when they're naked,
yes,
there's really nothing you can't talk about. Like what is there that you can't talk about when you're literally naked? And there's zero issues with it. It's not embarrassing.
You can't get any more vulnerable than that.
No, it doesn't feel weird. It's just you feel connected to these people. And then we get off the island and be on the mainland where you couldn't be naked. And it's like all of us islanders, we called ourselves, we just stuck together and we'd like hang out and we'd like party together at night and dance and all that kind of stuff. They were our people. Like we found our people. And that wasn't even having anything to do with sex. So this whole world, you know, what I really want people to come like to understand is that it's so much more than sex. It is about finding your people, your tribe. You know, we're all wanting to belong in life, but we are told what we're supposed to think, what we're supposed to do, who we're supposed to be, the boxes, right? Like one man, one woman, marriage is forever. One person should fulfill you completely. And so we are seeking that, and everything less than that is a failure. And I am not okay with that anymore. That needs to change, because we can't live like that. Like how many people are divorcing all the time, feeling like failures? I just separated over a year ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And that was the hardest thing, was just this failure mentality that I kept going through in my head, when it was the most right thing to do. It was the most right thing to do for both of us, and the kindest thing to do, and the most loving thing to do, because we were never very well matched. You know, we raised wonderful children and we were good partners for a long time, but really emotionally we never connected. We never were on the same page on a lot of things. We're so polar opposites, you know. So we did what we did. We've been married like 24 years, right? So that's a long time to be with someone, but we've consciously uncoupled, and that's beautiful too. And I want people to know that there's no shame in that either. You know, we made the best choice for each other and for ourselves. So there's so much.
A personal question.
Sure.
And I'm asking because with my marriage, we separated recently as well, earlier this year, but we remain really good friends. In fact, I'm planning to head over and see her and the family later this evening. So I wanted to ask you if you've been able to maintain a good friendship with your ex, and if you do you attribute that to what you've learned through polyamory?
I think so. A lot of it. He lives in the basement still, because it's just housing is expensive, and we haven't figured all that out yet. And it happened during COVID, so you know, we just
even worse.
So I mean, I see him every day. It's like, it's not a huge deal. Sure, we would both love to have our own spaces, but you know what? We live our own lives. We have our own things, and neither of us are jealous of each other's lives. It's fine. And I think like a lot of those skills, when you learn that one person isn't everything, you realize that when things aren't perfect, it's not you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just sometimes just the way things are. And you can fight and fight and fight and fight to fight a system that isn't working in your favor sometimes, you know, like why does marriage have to be forever? You know, I think that, and this is one of the things that I want to start proposing is like that marriage should be in like 5 to 10 year contracts. and you have to re-up
every time. Like, reminds me of my Navy days. I'm sorry.
Right? But wouldn't that make sense? Like to choose to be in it continually, you would be on a different, you wouldn't take it for granted. You would be putting effort into that relationship and maintaining it, not because you feel stuck in it, but because you desire that and you want to. And at the end of 5 years, you can tell a lot about, you know, are we on the same page at all? You can renegotiate for the next term, you know, like get a new interest rate. Maybe just a new interest. I have an interest. Can we add that?
That's great. That's great. I wanted to ask you, like, if there are some specific things. I'll share my experience while you think about that. And kind of to your point, where one person doesn't have to be my everything. Now I'm able to appreciate each relationship for what it is. And so in my case, probably one of those big takeaways is that like love is infinite and takes many forms, and I don't have to be, you know, sexual and romantic and all of these things with the person that I love very much in the world, and, you know, and want to be in my life. Like I want her in my life for the rest of my life, and she wants me in her life, you know, for the foreseeable future, for the rest of her life, right? Like we're in agreement on that. But because of what we learned through polyamory and, you know, being able to de-escalate relationships, like that's probably the thing that helped me. I wanted to know, what was the thing that helped you to be able to maintain this good relationship with your ex, who's still living with you and who you see every day, even though you're no longer romantic partners?
I'm not sure what the one thing would be, but the whole mentality to me, like even when we were together, he was dating someone he's still dating right now. And I never even wanted to be his favorite. You know, like I didn't need to be his favorite. I had gotten past the idea that I have to be the primary and everything and all this kind of stuff to feel secure. But I mean, I think people need to be able to put the same kind of effort into the relationship in order for it to flourish and continue to thrive, right? And so my idea of being able to let go, the whole idea, I think compersion is sort of the opposite of jealousy, right?
Right, more or less, yep.
Yeah, and I don't think you have to have compersion in order to be successful. But the idea with compersion is to be happy for your partner that they're experiencing something that you can't give them sometimes. And so for me, I recognize that the partner he has right now is just so much better suited for him as a person. And I don't want to be that person. And I will never be that person. And it's exhausting to try to be that person. And it's exhausting for him to try to be my person. Right. And so, And so my boyfriend now, we've been together 4.5 years, and he is amazing. And he reads me so well. Like, I mean, it's like no effort at all. It's just, we're like synced. And I would have never experienced that had I not been able to let go of those, you know, that programming that said that would be wrong. And what you were saying about, you know, the idea of like a relationship not having to be sexual or whatever. I think one thing I love so much about the concept of polyamory is that love can look different in so many ways. I do not have to limit my friendships. There's no hard stop anymore. And that is right.
That's it. Yes.
That's it right there. It's like if I develop a friendship with someone, it can turn sexual if it needs to. It can be friends with benefits, or it doesn't have to be any of that, but I can like cuddle with them or love them or have conversations with them. And nobody's
Yes.
going to hurt me for that.
Yes.
Nobody's going to
Yes.
hate me for that, because I have been shunned by women almost my whole life because my friends were always guys. And I remember the day when my ex-husband said to me, and we weren't engaged yet, he said, if we're going to be married, this is going to have to stop. I was running up and down the halls at Bible school in the tunnels with my friend. And we were chasing each other, and we were just being really silly. Okay. And the thing is, my husband had no issue with this. He didn't have any issues with it necessarily, but the programming said, this is not okay for a Christian wife. So if you marry me, that you cannot behave like this anymore. And a part of me died that day because I agreed that probably wouldn't be appropriate. And so I was not going to get to have my guy friends. That's all I had so many guy friends. And all of a sudden that was all going to have to change. And the thing is, he didn't even really care that much if I had guy friends. It's just the image.
Yes.
He really would have rathered that I had guy friends.
But
so in that
image.
sense, so this programming leads us to make decisions that don't fit who we are. We can't be authentic. And so I'm so
based
about
on these
authenticity.
external perceptions even.
Yeah. And so like we talked about breaking free to be authentic, but I also talk about breaking free authentically, which is what my podcast I think is going to be called. Breaking free authentically. And that means, like when you break free from things, you see all these like Facebook or like Instagram reels, all that kind of stuff, where they're giving the proverbial fuck you to the world, I am standing up for my boundaries and it's me. That doesn't sit well with me because it's not the type of person I am. I'm not just going to be like, talk to the hand, that's not me. I am a loving person, and I struggle with setting my own boundaries only because I was such a people pleaser. But I'm learning that there's an authentic way to set my boundaries and honor myself at the same time. And so I really work with my clients on really understanding how to be authentic and hold yourself, hold to your own energy and to be authentic to yourself. That's super important, right? And
I absolutely love that.
That goes through.
That is so good. That's so good. And I'm sure I could talk to you forever about all of this stuff. We could go on. I think I have time for one more question, though, before we start to close out here. So there was one thing that you mentioned, which was that when you and your husband were going through the decoupling and you, or even maybe even before that, when you started dating this other person, that you no longer felt the need to be the primary in order to feel secure. Like you no longer needed to be the primary in order for yourself to be secure. Can you tell me a little bit about that? What was it? Was it like because of this specific relationship that you didn't feel the need to be the primary? Or was it because in any relationship you don't feel the need to be the primary? I'm thinking it's more the latter, and I want to know like why, like what inspired that? So now the huge transformation has led to like I am my own primary. I think everybody's polyamorous. Everybody's polyamorous, and you have to be your own primary. Totally agree. And if you can't be, you're going to be seeking someone else to meet your needs and to fill voids all the time. But if you can learn to be your own primary, then you can allow everybody else to be who they are, where they're at, and everything just kind of naturally falls into place. And I think that's such a beautiful place to be. That's a tough place to get to sometimes, because again, there's a lot of breaking free, right? A lot of deprogramming to happen, and you've got to switch the programming to something new. And that means shifting ideas and mindsets and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think that I came to it probably helped that I also was in a relationship that someone saw me completely for who I was, and it wasn't trying, so I finally understood what it was like to actually be seen in a relationship and not have to fight to be seen. And I was able to go, well, I don't need to fight to be seen because I can be just me. And that was really, I think, really powerful in that. I love it. I love it. What do you think, Karine? Can we squeeze in one more question? I think we probably could. You think so? Okay. This is the last question.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
Nice. All right, there's a chance. The question that I wanted to ask you about is about co-parenting. So now you're split up with your husband, but you remain good friends. You still live together. How is co-parenting going for you now?
It's great. My kids are really independent. They're older too. So I have 2 adult children now, and my youngest is 15. So I have 2 girls that are older. One's moved out of the house. So, I mean, I have such a great relationship with my kids. I hang out with them. They talk with me and tell me everything. He is much more of a keep to himself kind of person. And so they don't really see him that much. But like when they really need stuff, like he's there for like a lot of the like financial things and difficult things that I don't know anything about, you know. So it's fine because there's like the kids get to just kind of do what they do and choose, and it's been fine. There's no issues or fighting with that. I imagine if they were a bit younger, we'd probably have like a every other weekend kind of situation or something like that, and would have worked that out, but we don't really need to because
y'all live together anyway.
Yeah, and the kids are like, yeah, you're leaving the house.
But overall, it's gone pretty well. The
yeah.
conversations around that were fairly easy.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel a whole lot different, I have to say, right? We just don't share a room anymore. And I don't have any expectations of him, which has been really freeing because I went through quite a depression just at the time when I was so confused. And I think just trying to hang on to things that shouldn't be, or trying to force yourself to be in a place or think in a way that doesn't align with who you are, just really messes with your mental health. And when you can start to really accept things for what they are and just change course, just be authentic to yourself and change course when needed, then that's beautiful.
So powerful, so good. Karine, thank you so very much for spending some time with me. Thank you for letting me ask you a few extra questions, going just a little bit over time. If somebody wanted to work with you, if somebody wants to get coaching from the world's leading empowerment coach, how can they get in touch with you? How can they do that?
Well, they can go to my website at on the screen there, www.KarineBedardCoaching.com. Karine with a K, Karine. And it talks a little bit about the 2 programs that I have there, and those are more the coaching programs. And you can book a call with me, like it's complimentary call. Book it with me, and we can just chat about what your needs are, because we can talk about, you know, empowerment and how to break free from those things to get you to a place where maybe you're thinking about these ideas of ethical non-monogamy. You know, like, what does that even mean? And you might be listening to this podcast and be curious, but don't know where to turn. I can help you. So I have a couple offers, like for couples. So some of the things that I do with my couples is that one is like I have a VIP fantasy couples experience. And so my breaking free method has 4 steps to it. So it's fantasize, release, embrace, and empower. So free. And so we go through the fantasize portion of my method in a weekend. And so you have talks with your partner, and you discuss, it's just really getting clear on your fantasies, your desires, your goals personally, as a couple, and sexually. Like, what are some things you want to experience, or, you know. And so we find a really nice place where you go and you get away and maybe have some massages, all the things that you would like. We make it very custom to what you like, and we take that weekend to really build such a great experience for you to really get clear on who you are and what you want, and then you'll know how to move forward from there.
I love it. Well, you all heard it, ladies and gents. Follow Karine on Instagram at Karine Bedard Coaching. Go to her website, KarineBedardCoaching.com, if you need help. I want to say thank you to our live audience. Alicia, thank you so much for joining us over here from Spotify. I really appreciate you. And thank you to the rest of our live audience for tuning in today. As a reminder, when we're live, you get no commercial interruptions, but the same can't be said for those podcast downloads. So if you want to avoid the commercial interruptions, be sure to catch us live Monday through Wednesday, 2:30 Pacific time, or sign up for our Patreon where you'll get access to our commercial-free RSS feed and support the show. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, wherever it is that you download your podcast if you haven't already, and please leave us a review. We'll really appreciate it. That is all we've got for you all today. Thank you once again, Karine. Thank you once again to our live audience. And until tomorrow, every single one of you, where's that button? There.
Have a nice day!
Thank you for tuning in to the Practicing Polyamory podcast. Would you or someone in your polycule like to be a guest? Sign up at practicingpolyamory.com and join the conversation. Please support us by subscribing, liking, and following us on social media at Practicing Polya by clicking any of the affiliate links on our website or by subscribing at patreon.com/practicingpolya.